Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
How to pronounce the Greek letters like a Greek. Let's see.
Decided to start learning modern Greek. Of course, you start with the letters of the Greek alphabet, and you are already very confused. My name is Marielena. I'm the person behind Hellenica.com, a platform dedicated on the Greek language, history, and culture. And today, I will help you pronounce some of the most confusing Greek letters correctly. So from my experience, non-native speakers usually have a difficulty with the following letters: Vita, Gamma, Delta, Theta, Rho, and Ypsilon. As you can see, I probably pronounce them differently from how you know them. You might have heard Vita as Beta, Gamma as Gamma, and Ypsilon as Upsilon. And this is
I think epsilon.
I'm familiar with this one.
Yeah, epsilon with E.
partly where the whole
Isn't it a brand?
Epsilon?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
comes from. Usually, the people who have difficulties with these letters have either studied ancient Greek in a foreign high school or college, or they might speak languages that use the Latin alphabet. In the first case, there is a great chance that their teachers were using the Erasmian pronunciation, which is very different from the modern Greek pronunciation. And in the second case, they see some
that's really tricky.
similarities between Latin letters and Greek letters, and they, of course, assume that they stand for the same sound. And this is actually true in many cases. For example, the letter alpha and the letter A, they look the same and they sound the same. They produce the sound A. But this is not the case with the letters that I have right here. So let's start with the letter Vita. If you learned ancient Greek in high school or in college, you might know it as beta, and you might think that it produces the sound B. But in modern Greek, this is not the case. Vita is actually
That's the tricky part.
much more similar to the letter V in Latin. So have this letter in mind when you try to pronounce some Greek words.
You know, in Cyrillic, like Russian, there's also V. When you
Why?
see B, I don't know why, that's just how it is. It's V.
That contain this letter. Let's see some examples. Velos, not belos, velos, vima, varos. Always have the letter V in mind when you try to pronounce them. Let's move on to the letter gamma. Sometimes even we
The
Greeks
letter?
try to connect it.
Yeah, it's the G, gamma. This is the most confusing one, I feel like. Sometimes it's a G, sometimes it's like Y, like gyros. It's
Oh.
not gyros, it's
It's-
not gyro, it's gyros.
You know, the rule reminds me of like in Portuguese from Brazil. If it's a C, it sounds like a H. You make H sound.
Yeah, there's
Something
some
like
rules.
that.
There's some rules, yeah.
It with the letter G, but it doesn't produce the sound G. So gamma can be described as a very soft G. And in the English language, you usually see it depicted in two different ways, either with a Y or with a WH. But not in all cases, because, for example, WH can also produce other sounds. It produces a different sound when we say where, and it produces a completely different sound when we say who or whom. Well, for the gamma, have where in mind. So with these two words in mind, let's try to pronounce these Greek words together. Roma, γελό, γίγαντας. Now,
You know, I would try to pronounce, but after she says it, to read it, I don't. It's hard. Go back, go back, go back. Like, can you read?
Yoma,
Yoma,
yellow,
yellow.
yiatas.
Now have her say it.
γίγαντας.
Hold on.
Yigagas.
Two words in mind, let's try to pronounce these Greek words together. Roma,
She sounds like almost
Roma.
R though. Roma.
I hear R.
I hear like
so she's
Roma.
this. So it's not R.
Yeah. I would see. I would
Roma.
pronounce more like Y, but she says kind of like R. Yeah, it's confusing.
Γελό, γίγαντας. Now,
Yeah, like
Gigadas.
even like the last word,
Ye.
it sounds like Yiratus. Like the first like gamma is like Y, and the second is like with a little R.
γελό, γίγαντας.
Yihata.
Gigadas.
I guess like the first is like Y as in yellow, and the second is like in where that WH. Yiwatas. No, no. It's
Now,
hard.
I will combine two letters together here. This is delta and this is theta. So to begin with, delta is not delta. Delta and theta in English are usually depicted both with th. Delta in words such as the, them, there. Theta in words such as through and thorough. So this is a nice trick to be able to distinguish them, because most non-native speakers that I've met, they think that we produce the same sound with these two letters. But no, there is a small distinction. So let's see some examples. Δεν, δανάη, θέλω, θάλασσα.
Oh, you know what thalassa is?
That's a.
Thalassa.
That's water.
See, yes.
See?
Uh-oh.
As you can
Don't
see,
make me nervous.
we
I'm
don't
trying
produce the
to
same
take in
sound.
these rules. Like I'm gonna have a quiz at the end. Okay.
You might be taking
I'm
a quiz. I
stressed.
don't know.
Now let's move on to the letter Ro. Now, with the exception of German speakers and French speakers, most people have no problem pronouncing this sound, the sound Ro. The problem is
Ro.
that this letter resembles a lot the letter P, and they think that it produces the same sound. For example, they may say Poda.
Same in Russian too. Once again in Cyrillic, P is R.
My name
Instead
starts
of-
with P.
Pashel.
of Roda. So just keep this in mind. This is actually
That's all I know
the
where
Greek
it starts.
equivalent of the letter R. And for the P sound, we use the letter P that you might know as
Oh,
pi. And
pi.
last but not least, I should also mention the letter Y. As you can see, it didn't say upsilon, and that is because it produces the sound E, not the sound U. For the sound U, we use two letters together, omicron and ypsilon. So we have uranos, but we also have hysteria. The first letter is ypsilon here, and it creates the sound E. And I should clarify that we have a lot of letters that produce this exact same sound in modern Greek. We have iota, we have eta, we have ypsilon that I just mentioned, and then we also have two letter combinations, omicron iota and epsilon iota. And in modern Greek,
Oh, so this is epsilon. That one is epsilon. I guess when she was talking about the epsilon, I was thinking of epsilon. So they do have epsilon. Okay, it's a separate letter.
they sound exactly the same. But when we read a text, we can understand a lot about the word from the way it is written. For example, eta and iota are mostly seen in nouns and adjectives. Iota is usually associated with neutral nouns and adjectives, for example, to pani, whereas eta is associated with female nouns and adjectives. Iremi, iremi. Omicron iota is associated with male nouns and adjectives in plural, plusi,
Wow, that's
and
impressive.
epsilon iota
To learn
is usually
all the rules is like not like that at all in English. I feel like.
Well, English don't have genders. That takes away of the a lot of complexity from the language. The genders makes it complicated because when you have genders, then, and also in English you don't really conjugate either. So like when you have to conjugate and have genders, and so conjugation is hard, genders are hard, and then you have different conjugation for different gender. Ooh, extra hard.
The only thing that's confusing is like W in our language, because everyone would say double V, but we here we say W.
I guess because on the keyboard is like it's not like U, but it's like V, so it was like double V.
associated with verbs. Pesi. Epsilon, usually it's in the beginning or in the middle.
Or like
of
for
certain
example, for my family, for oil always trips them up because you say oil. For them, they will want to say oil. You know?
words and not at the end of a word, with the exception with a set of irregular nouns that there's no reason to mention today, such as Todori. But Epsilon can also be seen together with two
And
other
also
vowels.
like words like live, live, read, read.
Yes,
Those
context.
those are
Context.
tricky.
Yeah,
That I
that's
can see the
context.
similarity like that.
Yeah.
Epsilon and alpha, and in this case it produces a different sound. But I don't want to confuse you even further, so if you're already on this level, you have already learned all the Greek letters and you're ready to learn the letter combinations,
Because I think you
recommend
should
that
just take in the basics and then learn the exceptions after. Don't
Yeah.
stress it.
check my other videos where I talk about this subject and expand your knowledge.
She's very
So I
patient.
hope you
She's
found
very
this
patient
video
in
quite
teaching.
helpful. I should also clarify that sometimes when we try to write some Greek words, especially names of locations, with Latin letters, we do use sometimes some letters that don't produce the correct sound in English. For example, this place right here is called Vouliagmeni, but you might see it written as Vouliagmeni. So this is something to keep in mind. So
I mean, it makes sense. There isn't sounds in Latin alphabet to produce that sound, so it is what it is.
if you're a subscriber, you will get a new video on Thursday. So do consider to hit the subscribe button.
Alrighty.
That's really cool. Can I see the comments?
What you gonna see in the
Because
comments?
sometimes there's always like maybe someone in the comments that say that's not a correct rule.
If English speakers are confused about the difference in pronunciation between delta and theta, consider the difference between English pronunciation at the beginning of the words in think and this. They are totally not interchangeable. However, I had always thought delta in Greek was more like the fricative in the Spanish as in de nada. Huh. I guess.
Okay. Part of my girlfriend's family is Greek, and I really want to learn at least a bit to impress them. Aww. He said it's gonna be harder than I thought. That's funny. But I want to keep learning. Thank you for helping us beginners. That's cute. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Everything like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.